Welcome to this edition of the Head to Head Podcast. I'm Cam McKinney. This is episode number 45 of the Head to Head Podcast. And in this edition of the podcast, I'm going to tell you why I think Kevin Durant should ultimately leave the Golden State Warriors this offseason. We are now 3 years removed from when Kevin Durant made the biggest free agency move since LeBron James joined the Miami Heat. Kevin Durant made his own move and joined the Golden State Warriors, who beat his Oklahoma City Thunder team in the Western Conference Finals that ultimately went right down to the wire. And instead of reteaming with Westbrook and Billy Donovan as his coach, he decided to go down a very different path and join the enemy. Something that had never been done in basketball history to that extent. I mean, Moses Malone did join Julius Erving and other big-time players did join other teams, but they didn't join the team that they were so close to defeating. Moses Malone didn't have a rivalry with the 76ers. Again, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't really have a rivalry with the Lakers, and that was a trade in a very much different situation. Kevin Durant chose the Golden State Warriors. Now, he chose the Golden State Warriors for some very good reasons. Stability is something that the Oklahoma City Thunder didn't seem to have. Russell Westbrook was his go-to other superstar. He was going in a wild and new direction, it seemed like. They really weren't that close as people pretended like they were best buds. Now that playoff season, Kevin Durant did defend Russell Westbrook against Mark Cuban, and that's why I, for one, thought Kevin Durant would remain a Golden State Warrior, but ultimately that relationship was not as strong as most people thought, and again, it seems like Kevin Durant is dead to Russell Westbrook in most situations, but I don't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about why Kevin Durant right now, he has his 2 rings. He's probably about to get his 3rd ring. Should, in my opinion, leave the Golden State Warriors. Because in this season, he is no longer relevant to what he does as a basketball player. He is no longer getting the reward of being a great player. We all know he's a top 5 player, but he's not getting the credit that he's, I believe, richly deserves. And I think that's a big issue here. Think about this basketball season, the guys in this playoffs even that have risen to star potential. Over the last 2 years, he's had to watch James Harden become MVP and now favored or second favored to win MVP this year. And then in this year, he's had to see Giannis Antetokounmpo kind of replace him as the weird freak of why he's a superstar. I mean, Kevin Durant was the best player 7 feet tall in the game, and now I think you can make the case that that's Giannis. That's got to argue Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is the most unique and efficient scorer in the game. I think I could make the case he's the best basketball player. I think he's ahead of Giannis's game, and I think he's definitely ahead of James Harden's game. He's way more efficient than both of those. He can get his jumper out of anywhere. He has that Dirk Nowitzki type move, and I just think these past few seasons of him having to watch these guys overtake him, Kevin Durant cannot win MVPs on this team, and I know that shouldn't matter to his legacy, but if you already have rings and you're no longer going to win MVPs and you're not even in that discussion at any point of the season, and it seems like when the postseason comes, we all act surprised when Kevin Durant can average 40 points against the Houston Rockets. I just think he's in a very bad place professionally at this moment, just the same way LeBron left the Heat. I think Kevin Durant has accomplished what he joined the Golden State Warriors to accomplish. Become a champion, and he has become a champion twice and is definitely going to win it 3 times. And he should especially leave this team if he's no longer close to Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. It seems like he's the odd man out of that group. I don't really know the relationship between him and Steph. That seems cool. Him and Klay, it doesn't matter. But if him and Draymond, it's the Golden State Warriors have to decide which of these two they're going to bring back. And I think the Golden State Warriors are probably going to bring back Draymond Green because he's the guy who's going to play the defense and the other guys are going to do the scoring. I think Kevin Durant is the odd man out of this band. And I don't think that's necessarily the right choice. I would choose Durant over Draymond. And I think the Golden State Warriors would too, but I think realistically, they're going to pick Draymond Green over Kevin Durant. And I think that's a mistake. But listen, I think Kevin Durant should also want to have his own team again to get that surprise moment. Dame Lillard this postseason has shined on a team where he is the guy. He's taking the big shots. He gets the logo Lillard thing. Kevin Durant can no longer have those moments. Yes, that first year when he's won NBA Finals MVPs 2 years in a row in the biggest moments. But we were surprised the first time he did it, and now it's becoming whatever. I think Kevin Durant, if he goes to New York, that's an interesting place because he would be the man. Again, it would have been way better if they had kept Porzingis and gotten Durant, but it's whatever. He can play there with Kevin Knox and get another superstar, maybe Jimmy Butler to go there. Again, I'm not really sure if Jimmy Butler is going to stay with the Sixers, but I think this is the move that Kevin Durant should make for his legacy play and for his... I just want him to be relevant again. It's like each season we're just expecting him to win, and he's part of this machine, and it's great, and it's got Steve Kerr, and it's got the best coach, and it's got the best players. It's great, but he's not getting any of the credit, and he's not getting any of the respect. Yeah, he's just going to be an all-star, and he's going to make it to the finals. But what about all the fun of watching a guy just dominate a season and be talked about the way Giannis is and the way Harden is and the way Dame Lillard has been this postseason? Kevin Durant no longer has any of that when it comes to all of those things. He has just become this guy who is we all agree is a top 5 player, but we won't make him number 1 because of the players he plays with. And yes, that's a problem with the era in which Kevin Durant is playing in. Larry Bird wasn't called not the best because he had Robert Parrish or Kevin McHale or even Dennis Johnson. He could still be the best player. It seems to be a different NBA. Again, Magic Johnson wasn't called not the best because he had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as his teammates, and he had James Worthy, and he had Byron Scott. It seems like the era that we're living in is the reason that's going to destroy the Golden State Warriors. It's just the public eye of things is going to be the thing that destroys the greatest dynasty I've ever seen in basketball, which is really kind of sad. The fact that Kevin Durant thinks he has to remind us that he is Kevin Durant against his little whatever that was in the first round against Patrick Beverley is kind of sad. And I know Kevin Durant has done this to himself because he can't get past that decision, and it's really torn him up inside. And there's also a part of me that thinks that he would do it very differently. He would go back to the Oklahoma City Thunder if he could go back. There is a part of me that thinks like 5% of him wishes he didn't join the Golden State Warriors and gets those rings, because I think the rings have actually cost him something that he had. He was thought of as a quiet NBA loyal player. He said the things about his mom. That's the Kevin Durant that I remembered, the guy who signed with the Oklahoma City Thunder without a press conference. That was the Kevin Durant we were all getting used to. And then all of a sudden he does this out-of-character move and joins the Golden State Warriors after years and years ago criticizing LeBron James for joining the Miami Heat and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh for criticizing super teams. He becomes a super team himself. But again, I'm not going to blame him for that. He wanted to get out of his situation. He wanted to live in the Bay Area. That's fine. Kevin Durant had the right to do that. But now I think he wants to reverse that decision, and I think joining the Knicks is a smart move. There are other teams that I think he should probably join. I think that Durant's even had it worse than LeBron when LeBron joined the Heat. LeBron was still getting MVPs. He won 2 of his 4 MVPs as the Miami Heat. And Dwayne Wade allowed LeBron James to become the face of the franchise. And Steph Curry should not have to do this, but Steph Curry has not in that same way allowed Kevin Durant to be the vocal point of the franchise, and nor should he, because Steph Curry is still in his prime and Kevin Durant is still in his prime. Dwayne Wade was a little bit older than LeBron, and there was that big brother, little brother relationship, and Dwayne Wade knew that in order for the Miami Heat to take that next step and become that great team, that he was going to have to give the mantle of the best player on the team to LeBron James. Steph Curry does not seem to want to do that for Kevin Durant. They both average about 27 points a game. He's not going to be like, I'm going to take 22. Like Dwayne Wade was averaging like 22 when LeBron would score like 28. That's not going to happen for the Golden State Warriors, again, there's more of a team around them. I mean, the Miami Heat had those 2 and then Bosh. And then a bench that was more, not a bunch of guys who score. Golden State right now has DeMarcus Cousins on it. Again, he got injured at this point, but at one point they had 5 maybe future Hall of Famers on there and a great bench player in Iguodala. There were a lot of shots to be taken. For the Miami Heat, at one point in their situation, it was LeBron, you're going to take the majority of the shots. And I don't think the Golden State Warriors have fully gone on there. I think there is a debate within Steve Kerr's mind on who the best player on the Golden State Warriors is. And there's a debate in my mind because as well as I believe Kevin Durant is the best overall talent player on the Golden State Warriors, my guy is Steph Curry. I think he's the thing that makes that team special. He reinvented the game and the 3-point shot, and he's the face of the franchise. He's the greatest player in franchise history. They're not going to just let Durant become that. And that's what they wanted. This situation, in a way, kind of reminds me of when Dwight Howard came to the Lakers and wanted to become the face. And Kobe Bryant was like, no. It's a very different situation, but just like Dwight Howard, Kevin Durant is never going to be the face of the Golden State Warriors, and that's why he should join a team that's going to allow him to do that. And I think the Knicks are begging him to do that. I even think that my Boston Celtics would allow Kevin Durant to become the face. I think Kyrie Irving would clearly step aside and allow Kevin Durant to become the leader of the Boston Celtics. I think that's another option you could take. Again, I'm a fan, and that's what I would want to happen, but I think that's something that he should seriously consider. There are other teams out there that would seriously just allow Durant. I think Durant wants to go to a team where there's not 4 superstars. He would rather just want one. I think that's why the Celtics make sense to me. That's why the Knicks, if he brings someone along, that makes a bunch of sense to me. I don't think he wants the Klay Thompsons around. I don't think he wants the Draymond Greens around. I think if it were just him and Steph Curry, he would be way better suited to be in that situation. Again, I don't think he's wishing for the Russell Westbrook situation again, because I think he wants someone who's not going to take more shots than him. And Steph Curry's clearly suited his game better than Russell Westbrook did playing with Kevin Durant. Steph Curry's not chucking up shots and trying to play hero ball the way Russell Westbrook was at the end. There was points in the postseason with Westbrook and KD where Westbrook would take as much as 15 more shots than Kevin Durant. That cannot be the case on a basketball team anymore, and that will definitely go into the decision of Kevin Durant. But just personally, I just want this era of Kevin Durant hating him, I want it to be over. I just want to respect the player he was. Again, it would be great if this is like what the Miami Heat was for LeBron. Yeah, he went there, he got his rings, but he can go somewhere else and try to win there. I think that's the best case scenario for Kevin Durant. No, he can't return to the place he went before like LeBron did, because I don't think OKC, first of all, he wouldn't even fit with what Westbrook is today, and him and Paul George are not a very good fit. But I do think a team like the Knicks, again, the Knicks are the team that everybody thinks he's going to, and I think that would be a fine place. But again, would it really work out with the ownership like that? I mean, he's in such a stable spot. It's so sad that the Warriors are going to lose him because they've done everything perfectly to suit his game. They haven't treated him bad organizationally wise. He wants to leave because of the media creation, and the thing I'm talking about, he's getting zero credit for how good of a basketball player he really is. And to me, that's the most annoying thing of this entire situation. Kevin Durant is a top 3 basketball player right now. Right now in basketball, he is a top 3 player. There is no doubt in my mind it would be like LeBron, KD, Steph. Those are the 3 guys, and I don't know which order I would put them in right now, but those are clearly the top 3 guys in the game. They have rings, they have cachet, they have glory, but Steph Curry is being rewarded with that glory, and so is LeBron James. The odd man out to me is Kevin Durant, and he's the one who chose winning with this type of team other than winning with a team he had. Again, maybe he didn't, maybe he really thought he was never going to get over the hump with that Oklahoma City team. Maybe he was so annoyed by Billy Donovan and Russell Westbrook that he was like, I have to leave this situation, and this is the best place to go. But I think there is a seriously big percentage of him that regrets that situation, and he's going to do it differently this time. I believe he is probably going to leave the Golden State Warriors, and I believe the only reason he would stay there is if Draymond Green was the guy out. If the Golden State Warriors find a way to get rid of Draymond and keep him and have a big free of Steph, Clay, and KD, he would stay. I think that's a serious possibility here, that that he could indeed stay with the Warriors, but it's not going to be in this current incarnation of the Warriors. I don't think he wants to play with the DeMarcus Cousins of the world, and I don't think he wants to play with Draymond Green, because I think that whole situation has backfired. Their friendship that got him on the team, I think it is the one thing that's annoying him the most on the team. I also think there have been some weird points in the season with him and Steve Kerr, where maybe he doesn't respect his coach the same way he did when he first got there. Again, Kevin Durant thinks he's a bigger reason of why they're winning than maybe they think he is. I don't know. Those type of things always seem to linger in the end of dynasties, how these guys compete, and they have their rings. What else is there to do there? I just think Kevin Durant is like Carmelo 2.0, the most efficient scorer and best scorer I've ever seen. I thought Melo had the potential to be that. I think Kevin Durant is the fulfilled Carmelo Anthony, and he's not quite getting the respect I believe he deserves, and that's why I believe, honestly, he should leave the Golden State Warriors, which is a shocking thing to say, because in most cases I would say stay with that team until the league proves that they can beat you. And it doesn't look like it's going to be this season. As I'm currently doing this podcast, they're up 2-1 on the Houston Rockets. I don't think the Bucks could beat the Golden State Warriors. I don't think the Sixers could beat them. I don't think the Celtics could beat them. I don't think the Trailblazers could beat them. And I certainly don't believe the Denver Nuggets are going to be the ones to take down this team. And there's also something that Kevin Durant could do if he rejoins the Golden State Warriors that no one of the modern era has been able to do, probably since Bill Russell, and that's win 4 straight finals. LeBron hasn't done it. Michael Jordan three-peated. Kobe Bryant three-peated. They've never won 4 in a row. Could that be the thing that makes Kevin Durant want to stay with the Golden State Warriors, is ring hunting? But again, you hear him talking, does he even care about the winning anymore? It's like, I think he does care about the winning, but I think he's accomplished that enough. I think it's all about legacy at this point, and Kevin Durant is going to think long and hard about whether or not his best legacy is to be remembered as a 10-year Golden State Warrior or to go somewhere else. And again, a guy joining his third team isn't always the best decision, and it could clearly backfire on him real fast. But I think Kevin Durant is, in my opinion, going to leave the Golden State Warriors. Most people, again, that's not a rare thing to say. Most people think he's going to leave the Golden State Warriors. But where I disagree with some people is I think he should leave the Golden State Warriors, because I want to remember the best Kevin Durant. I want him to be rewarded with a few more MVPs, and it doesn't seem like that's ever going to happen in this iteration of the Golden State Warriors. He's never going to get the credit playing with the greatest shooter of all time. He's never going to get the credit playing with one of the best defenders ever in Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson there as his third backup. Klay Thompson could be the best player on so many of these playoff teams. If I put Klay Thompson on the Denver Nuggets, he's their second best player and probably their best scorer. He could be the best scorer on so many of these playoff teams. And again, he's playing some real good defense. Again, Kevin Durant, does he want to play that team style of basketball though? Or does he want to go back to being 30 points a game Kevin Durant, chasing? I just don't know. It's going to be so interesting to see how this all plays out. Is a guy really going to leave a team after they three-peat? Again, Michael Jordan retired twice after three-peat. So guys have done this in the past, but is Kevin Durant that type of guy? Because I think he was so annoyed by the decision that he made, he's not going to have it linger as long as it did last time. I think it's going to be a quick, this is over, or it's not. Do the Warriors already know how this is going to play out in this offseason? That's another interesting thing. Again, three-peat, which is, I think, obviously going to happen. I don't think any of these teams remaining in the postseason are going to beat Durant and the Warriors. But is Kevin Durant really going to choose that again? Because I think he doesn't want to be hated by this organization also. He's already hated by the Oklahoma City Thunder fans. Could Kevin, in it, there's a world in which I think Kevin Durant's going to pick the Warriors, and he could probably be the Barry Bonds of, like, the Warriors. Like, San Francisco loves a guy who everyone else hates. For years, Giants fans loved Barry Bonds while the rest of the league hated him. Even before the steroid nonsense, they hated him. That could be what Golden State Warriors do for Kevin Durant. Is he really going to leave the greatest dynasty I've ever seen for a chance of just to be the best player. That's why I'm so kind of confused by it. But I also think ultimately it's what he should do. But is it what he's going to do? We'll have to see in July whether or not Kevin Durant truly wants to be like an MVP type of guy again, because we could go another few seasons without really talking about how good he is. Like we've done each of the last, I'd say, 2 years. There's been very few talk ever of Kevin Durant being an MVP, Jake. Even at points this season, there was of Steph Curry possibly being MVP and not Durant. I don't think Durant likes that situation. I don't think he's getting along with Draymond Green. Again, to me, the only way he stays with the Warriors is if Draymond Green is not there. So, will Kevin Durant leave the Golden State Warriors? I think he should, but only time will tell. Thanks again for listening to this edition of the Head to Head Podcast. There'll be a new episode of the Head to Head Podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Thanks again for listening, and check out the Chatter Podcast Network, home of the Head to Head Podcast, and my movie podcast, Pop Culture Spotlight, where I talk about the latest movies, TV shows, directors, and actors that I admire. Check that out too, and thanks again for listening.